All right. Hello, everyone. Hello, can you hear me? Can someone respond? Hello, good afternoon, everyone. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And I want to welcome us to this great meeting again. And it's my pleasure to be among us today. Now, by the grace of God, I'll be anchoring this session. Now, I am privileged to be part of this great academy. I participated last year, and I can tell you after there was a paradigm shift in my mentality towards many things, which some years back I took it for granted. Now I want to assure you that you are not in the wrong place, and I want to encourage you, please, whatever we are learning here is going to be a catalyst that will project us to become competent leaders, people that will bring the change we desire in the nearest future. So please, I want to urge us, let's put more effort. After the session, the academy last year, I went to work, and I can tell you I am making progress, even though it is slow, but I'm very sure I'm making progress. So I want to welcome you once again. My name is Javan Eli, and I was a cohort, as I said earlier, last year cohort, and I will be our uncle for today. Now, by the grace of God, today we'll be having two great women that will be anchoring, that will be speaking to us. And I was so glad when I saw their names. One of the key things that we discussed last year was the issue of gender equality. And I'm happy to say that women are anchoring this program. I think last year, yes, there were women, but it's a great achievement from the side of Big Thoughts to bring these women that will anchor this program for us. So I want us to pay attention. They will be speaking to us, and we are going to listen attentively as they speak to us concerning issues that will be. Now, the first part of our program, the first part of our training will be defining criteria for Nigeria's 21st century public leaders. Now, this particular session will be handled by Mrs. Hannatu Yaro, and the second training will be understanding public leadership and management, and Mrs. Titi Yakubu will be handling that part. Now, we'll be starting with the first one, and I want to briefly ask someone to volunteer to pray for us. I would like somebody from the Muslim faith to briefly pray for us before I introduce our speaker and we set the ball running. So any volunteer in the house that can pray for us, someone from the Muslim faith. All right, Tijani Ibrahim. Ahmad Tijani Ibrahim, can you please unmute yourself and pray for us? Ahmad Tijani Ibrahim. All right. All right, so Ahmad, I'm unmuting you. Can you pray for us? Is Ahmad with us? Okay.
Hello.
All right, yes, we are with you, Ahmad. Can you pray for us?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
Sallu ala Nabi al-Karim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghayril maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amin. Fatiha.
Thank you very much, Ahmad. Thank you very much. All right, now, so we are starting right away. And as I said earlier, our first topic for today, defining criteria for Nigeria's 21st century public leaders. And to do justice to this particular topic, Mrs. Hannatu Yaro. Now, I'll give you a brief introduction of Ms. Hannatu Yaro. Now, Mrs. Hannatu Yaro is a development consultant. She has worked with both national and international non-governmental organizations. Mrs. Hannatu Yaro was once a high contender for the leadership position, chairperson of Toro local government of Bauchi State. Mrs. Hannatu Yaro also contested for the position of a Senate, Gombe South Senatorial District in the 2019 general elections. Now, she is a versatile woman, rich with resources. Now, we are going to welcome her, and I want us to pay attention. We are going to give the platform to Ms. Hannatu Yaro for the next 1 hour. She'll be taking us through defining criteria for Nigeria's leadership, defining criteria for Nigeria's 21st century public leaders. Now, let's welcome Ms. Hannatu Yaro. You are welcome, ma. You can unmute yourself, and the platform is yours.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, ma.
I want to say good afternoon to all the participants at this forum. Thank you also for the opportunity that you have given me to explain or talk on this important topic, defining criteria for Nigeria's 21st leadership, 21st century public leadership. Thank you so much for that opportunity. You mentioned when you were making citation, you talked about me as contesting for chairmanship of Toro local government and also Gombe as a senator representing Gombe South. I just want to provide some more information here.
All right, that's fine.
Yeah, first and foremost, I'm from Bauchi State, Toro local government precisely. And then I'm married to someone from Gombe South. You know, the advantage of being a woman is that you have, you belong to your father's house. You also belong to your husband's house. That is before the National Assembly about 3 weeks ago decided to quash one of my rights, by saying that, you know, it depends on how many years I stayed with my husband, then I have to have one citizenship, what I think is totally wrong, embarrassing. And in fact, there is no word to describe the public show of shame that 5 bills that supporting Nigerian women, that they decided to quash it without giving it a second thought, as to they are doing it to their sisters, their mothers, their wives, and their friends. They haven't looked at that. So that's for tomorrow. Sorry. Thank you so much. Can I talk now?
Yes, ma, you can continue.
I'm using the same phone, so when somebody calls, I pray nobody calls me so that I don't get obstructed. Thank you. So when I look at the defining criteria, Nigeria's 21st century public leaders, many things came to mind. I have to try and see how do I, such a vast topic that, you know, one can spend the whole day talking about it. How do I put it straight so that people will understand my thoughts, so that people will understand from which angle I'm looking at the issue. When you talk about leadership, what you mean is a systematic application of the force of politically organized society. It's not one thing, leadership. is putting so many things together so that, not necessarily people will be happy at some point, but then if only they understand the angle to which I want us all to go, that is leadership. The person that gave this brief explanation talked about systematic force. Yeah, sometimes force has to be applied, sometimes influence has to be applied, so that we can cross the bridge. So it's all a mixture of all makes up leadership. And then the person also went ahead to talk about different aspects of governance. For us in Nigeria is the executive, the legislative, and then the judicial. Whether you look at it at the federal level, the state level, or at the local government level, they all have these various branches or parts that you put together. The executive essentially executes the law, which the judiciary or the legislative, formulates, and then the judicial interprets it as well as take correctional measures when people do not accept or agree to go along with the law as prescribed in the Constitution. I want to look at our topic, which is the criteria. When you talk about criteria, you're talking about what are the various components that you can unpack that will make the issue of leadership. What are people looking at? What do the leaders expect from the followers? So I want to look at it also within these angles, so that we can try and understand some few things and arrive at the kind of criteria that might be necessary when we are looking at the issue of leadership. First, I want to look at when I talk about leadership here, or the criteria for Nigeria's 21st century, I want to look at it at three levels and also two aspects. I want to look at it in terms of understanding the challenges. First, what are the challenges? Because when you're talking about criteria, you're talking about leadership. Leadership is also partly all about solution finding. It's also about, helping people to achieve a particular goal. So if there's a goal, then definitely there are issues that you have to look at, solve them, mitigate, and then for more, as you solve them, new challenges come up, and it has to be solved within the 21st century. So I decided to talk about understanding the challenges first, and then garner the issue of resources, so that we can put all this together that will help us come up with leadership, because it's first understanding of challenges. What are the challenges a nation is facing? What are those challenges that is before the leaders? Because providing solutions to such challenges are what makes a leader, or what criteria that people will use to say you are a leader and you are not a leader, or you are not doing it the way people want it. And then how do you gather these resources so that you can provide solution to the people? And when you are talking about gathering resources, what are those resources? The resources are human, the resources are material. Putting them together so that you get either correctly or more than half of it done correctly, so that we can all move on, so that we can solve problems, so that we can also look at issues of challenges. In the case of Nigerian challenge, I want to look at it from two angles. That is the angle of the leaders, and then the angle of also the followers. That of the followers, I have also slated three important issues that I want to look at. And I put them all together under expectations, under assumptions, under disappointment. The first one is assumption. What are the assumptions that either the leaders or the followers assume leadership should be? They have both the leaders and the followers assume that a leader has a magic wand to move or solve issues. Both the leaders and the followers have that assumption that, once we put this person in place, our problems are solved. And when such they do not meet the demands, people become disappointed. And even the little good things that has happened, people are not ready to look at it and say, well, in terms of A, B, C, D, I think this is okay. But in terms of E, F, G, I think it didn't go well. Then how do we come up with solutions together? So that is a big assumption here, that the leader, whoever sits on the leadership position, automatically has a magic wand. That is assumption number one. Assumption number two is that everything should be done by government. Everything should be done by government. So people do not see themselves as government. They assume, yes, as a criteria. They have given the criteria that everything, should be done by the government, which is not true. Only in my country, Nigeria, that you will find people heaping garbage in front of their houses, expecting government to come and pick it, or cutting down trees. And when you ask, say, no, the government is supposed to come and plant it. Or we can build religious centers, beautiful ones, magnificent ones in our communities. But when you go to schools where we hold our children, it's always looking dilapidated. In fact, you start even wondering whether are human beings actually living here. But you see the number of children trooping in and out of school, you know that, yeah, this is a school, and it's becoming a common sight and people don't even bother. That is because people have the assumption that everything should be done by the government. But when the mosquitoes are biting us and our children, I don't think there's any government here, then we ourselves are the government. So here is a big assumption. The government should do everything. So the criteria we give the government is that it's the government that has the magic wand and can do everything. Then the third one is the assumption that there is unlimited resources. That no, the government should be able to do it. The government has the money. Whether it has the money or it doesn't have the money, we just assume that the government has unlimited resources, to the extent that we don't even see our own contribution of paying tax, of a corporate social responsibility, of all the little things we are supposed to do around our houses to keep our compound clean, to keep our streets clean, to keep the neighborhood clean. We don't see our own contribution. We just assume that the government has unlimited resources, so it should be able to do. And then the second issue I want to look at is that of expectation. There's always the wrong expectation of leaders based on what I've said previously, that the leaders are there, they have the magic wand, they can just do it, they have unlimited resources, and they should be able to do everything. For me, I see that as a wrong expectation, even though it's a big criteria that we have put, expecting our leaders that they should be able to do it. Like you earlier said, when you were giving my citation, I contested in 2 places. Yes, I contested in 2. That is the place, actually, I had enough time to plan and map out some of the things that I think, yeah, would help the people, so that we can come out of poverty. I have had opportunities that many people keep coming to say, oh, we have heard that you really want to contest. We are very happy, and we have this problem. I have this personal problem that I want you to solve. And when you look at what is the problem, oh, my wife has given birth, or she's about to give birth, or I'm getting married, I want you to make some contribution in buying. Most of the requests that people come are personal requests that they want. And for them, that is the criteria they have given. For a leader to be a successful person, You have to be able to solve personal problems. And I don't think that should be the case here, because personal issues should be solved personally. And we have so much put ourselves in that to the extent that nobody, I've been to communities where after explaining why I'm in politics, what I think I can do, people would say, please finish talking what you want to say and just give us the money you brought for us. So for me, I see that actually there are wrong expectations of leadership. Unfortunately, it's a criteria that we as Nigerians has put forward to select our leaders. And in most cases, we have ended up not getting the right people to do the right thing. Then I talked about issue of human and material resources, where we think the government has unlimited resources. Therefore, it should be able to solve every problem. In Nigeria, for example, the major source of our wealth, money, revenue, is the oil that we depend so much on. To the extent that people do not look at, okay, in this month, how much funds actually came into our coffers, and then how much actually has gone to different states, federal establishments, local government areas, some parastatal, some departments, some agencies. The funds is being shared along all this to look at projects, to look at current expenditures, to look at many other things. People don't go there. They think, no, the government should be able to do it. Everything, the government should be able to do it. No matter how little or big, the government should be able to do it. And at the end, the expectation also, we end up with wrong expectation. So with these few things that I have said, I want to look at what should we expect from a leader? What should we expect from a leader? For me, well, as a leader, I want to look at who am I working with first. For people coming into position of leadership, they themselves should have an X-ray of themselves. Who am I working with? Who am I going to work with? Who am I representing? That will take us to look at issues like I have group of women, I have communities, I have LGS depending on where or which position I'm contesting. There's also the issue of the youth, there's the issue of men, there's the issue of physically challenged. There are so many other categories. There's also the issue of even the ages. When you look at children, you are really going to represent children. Have you looked at their ages? Is it from 0 to 12, from 12 to 18, from 19 to 25? What challenges do they have? What needs do they have based on whether they're women, men, youth, physically challenged, and children? Based on their ages also, they pose different challenges, needs, wants are all different. So how do we put all this together? You know, then like I said, as the age is, so is also the need and then their expectations. Then I would also look at what are the issues that these various categories that have examined. The issues are also dynamic. Probably what they want today might be different from what they want tomorrow. So you have to look at the number of years that you will come up with plans. Is it for 5 years? Is it for 10 years? Because by the time they go through these years, definitely the issues they want, the challenges they are facing, definitely, would also be different because of the time as an important criteria. Then I will also look at what do they need and how can I work for them, based on whether they are women, men, youth, physically challenged, depending on their years, they have different needs based on the categories. So that will help me come up with criteria of the people I am governing, or representing. I have to address their issues based on that. Many people, for example, here in Nigeria, we have had experiences of mixing up either on radio or television, getting different aspects of information so that we can address issues that affect our people. But how many of these issues are actually issues? So for me, if I am, whether I'm posing as a leader or somebody who wants to appraise a leader in this 21st century, I think the issue of definition here has to come based on the understanding of who is posing as a leader or who wants to represent me. I have to find out in the first place, what is your understanding of the issues? You have to have the understanding of who are you working with. What are the ages? How does that pose as a kind of issues that I need to address? Because leadership is actually addressing issues, mitigating challenges, looking at, putting all these things together and see which one can I solve within 1 year, which one can I solve after 2 years, 3 years, or based on the tenure that I am going to be a leader. And for me also, as a follower, I want to look at, assess, and come up with a criteria based on the understanding of whoever wants to represent me. I want to look at their understanding, their plans of what they can do, and how far have they gone into coming up with these development plans that they want to support their people or represent their people and address issues in terms of leadership. I also want to look at, I also want also to consider, it's not only the expectation of the leaders or the followers also, but then as a duty bearer, I want to look at our document of existence, that is the Nigerian Constitution. How many people understand the Constitution? Are those people that go into politics or to represent our people? Do they have the understanding of what leadership actually is? That for me is a big criteria. It's a basis of defining leadership. I want to know, do you have as a leader understanding of your role in your role? I remember we organized and then we needed to visit a community so that we can canvass for votes, canvass for support. And then we sat down with a committee and we were discussing, okay, what are those things that we will tell people? First, they need to know me as a person. They need to know my background, where I've worked, what have been my experiences. And I think people also need to know what do I think are the challenges of the people I'm representing. Do I have a clear understanding of their challenges? Because that in itself forms a criteria and helps them to define whether I understand them or not as a leader. And what am I going to do based on the challenges that I know? How am I going to provide solutions to some of them? And probably how did I come about my own information? All these things for me, I see it as criteria that people have to come up with so that they can critically examine the leaders they are going to put in position of authority. Because once they put them there, then they should be able. That's why before elections, there's usually debate. People will debate and say, well, we want you to talk to us on television or on radio, and people will keep phoning. So people, our leaders should have to be able to answer, should have to be able to give us explanation as to certain things. What do they know about their own role as leaders? If you are a legislator, is the issue of providing water in your community your first and most important job description? Or how do you come about that? Because I knew when Obasanjo came on board as the president, the first people went back to their communities. People were disappointed. They said, well, we don't have water in our community, because up till now, people still do not make clear demarcation between the roles of the legislature, the roles of executive. They all get mixed up together. So people from the National Assembly went home, and people were asking them, we don't have water in the community, we didn't provide. So they had to sit down to really explain to the executive that yes, in as much as we are here to formulate laws, but at the same time, we have to be answerable to our people, because they don't understand, even though the Constitution gives us this right, but our people will not understand. So we have to come up based on the budget. We also have to come up with the projects and programs that could be done in our community, so that our people will be able to trace and say, yeah, when you went there, these were some of the benefits of democracy, that dividend of democracy that we enjoyed because you were there. You did good legislation, yes, but then now there's road to our community. That one speaks better than, yeah, you went there, you said nay, you say yeah, so many laws have been passed, and so what? People want to tie it to something that is concrete. That was how the issue of project for legislators also came in. And then it became part of the expectation of both the duty bearers as well as the people in the community. So the expectation in itself is another criteria that people will expect that you should be able to do that. But then the wrong criteria that most of the followers have is that, well, as a leader, once I elect you there, you should be able to solve my personal problems. For example, you find you've been good friends with somebody. You go everywhere together. He or she comes to your house. You eat the simple meal, and everybody is satisfied. But the moment you become a leader, your friend will expect that, no, I used to drink just ordinary water. Now I'm in your house as the chairperson of the local government. I should be able to take a Maltina. I should be able to eat food that is sophisticated and things like that. And I should be able to get some personal support as to my own personal issues. And if you look at it, you do all the calculations. That is for one friend. And then multiply by the number of friends, multiply by the number of people who felt well will influence your vote and things like that. So putting all these things together definitely does not support. It's a defining criteria for leadership, but then the wrong criteria for defining leadership. So for me, I think we have to go back to the drawing board, to as both the duty bearers as well as also the followers, so that we can come up with a criteria that we know is workable. That means expecting less personal things from our leaders and supporting them to do the right thing. So when we talk to them, we should be able to talk to them in the light. There's no road to my community. There's no hospital to my community. We need this for the community, but not individual expectations. I think the criteria as a nation, we have to come up or review the criteria, especially that of personal expectations of our leaders. It has not helped. It's not going to help us. We have to review that. So for me, I see that as very, very important when you come to define criteria of Nigeria's 21st century public leaders. The expectations, we got it wrong. The assumption, we got it wrong. Their roles and responsibilities, what is in the Constitution is not what we personally expect them to do. And you will often hear people say, well, he was a leader for about 8 years, but he didn't change his house. He didn't even buy a nice car for himself. He has only one wife. And, these are the job descriptions we have given our leaders, even though it's unwritten in the constitution. And when you look at it critically, the leaders, the previous leaders have just been doing that because we go for personal things, we get them. They show off wealth to show that, yeah, they occupy a position one day. And we kept clapping for them. We kept inviting them for ceremonies and launchings and whatever, so that they can flaunt those wealth. But when we come to do the assessment, it's like we do it differently. So for me, I think this criteria we have to emphasize more on what the Constitution says, what is their expectation to the general public, and less of personal expectation. I want to stop here and take on some questions from my listeners. Thank you. Hello? Hello?
Chairman there. Okay. I believe everyone can see me. Yes. Good to hear from you this afternoon again, Moni. We're excited always listening to you. I will just stand in for Javan. I think Javan is out temporarily. Thank you for that conversation, man. Especially as it's required of leaders to do their homework before even coming out. They need to have a situation analysis and also understand the people they are dealing with. Like you said, they need to know who they are working with. They need to know the requirements or what is their need. And their needs are different, just like and you said the needs have to meet everybody in the community, which include a male, female, person with disability, even children. Thank you, ma'am. So if you have questions, you can put it on the chat box, and then you can also raise your hands. They will give you opportunity to share. You can ask mommy any question at all, because the person before you is a very experienced person, both in the public sector as well as in the civil society. So she's just there for us. Okay, Farah is asking a question, ma. So what challenge? Thank you for a great presentation, ma. So what challenges did you face as a leader, and how did you overcome it, ma?
Okay. Well, I have not had the opportunity of leadership in the political context, you would say. For example, I contested for the chairmanship of Toro local government. And what I did was to go through all the documents that Toro local government, write-ups about Toro local government. For example, the NBHS. I looked at the census report to see different ages of people, which was more than the other. I looked at information about it. I went to the extent of looking at even the archives to see, in terms of leadership, how many leaders, all this I put together so that I can come up with information that will guide me as to what are the issues that I need to address. Importantly,
Sorry, ma, we keep losing you.
realized
We keep losing you, ma.
most of them,
like your network breaks, we've been losing you.
Sorry. And most of them are youth. Youth constitute 70%. When I looked at, based on the census report,
Hello, ma.
What is their not to
Sorry, ma. We lost you at some point.
Oh my God, sorry. Somebody has been trying to call my line and it's actually
Okay.
not helping matters. So sorry about that.
Okay, no problem.
Somebody is asking me about the challenges I faced as a leader. I said, well, I've never had the opportunity to get the leadership ticket, but then I had my own share of problems, of challenges when I contested. So we can also discuss it within that context. I was trying to explain my preparation. What I did was to look at NDHS report, governance report, census report, so that I know what is the population of Toro local government. What is based on the population, I talked about age. What is the youth age? Because the youth age, they are the ones that will actually do the work. They are the ones that actually, if you provide solution to that particular age, you will get it almost at least 50-60% right. You will be able to get it. And I realized that most of them actually finish secondary school, have not gone to higher institution. They are busy doing farming, and the farming is not attractive because they've seen their parents doing it. It's the same maize, it's the same corn, it's the same beans, it's the same old method of farming in terms of produce and other things. So I realized that for someone to work into local government and actually provide good support to the people, one has to look at the issue of agriculture, because over 70% are into agriculture. And if they are into agriculture, for one to make a difference, one has to look at the issue of agriculture and try to address it within that context. So first I went to all the 17 wards, picked the soil sample, took it to the Federal College of Soil Sciences opposite University of Georgia for analysis, so that I can get a clear idea of, well, if I have to change the crops that they are planting, what are the likely things that equally grow? And then how can we boost what they are doing already? How can we give it a boost so that it becomes interesting? It can give them some resources that, they will feel, yeah, it's good to go this way. And besides that, agriculture, when you look at it, is the mainstay of every nation. Even if you have oil, once the food is not there, forget it. You need agriculture. So I got my information, and then with that, I took off my campaign. It gave me a fair idea and knowledge of every area in Jama'a district. We have many people planting onions during the dry season, and nobody is doing garlic, for example, and they are all within the same family. 5 bags of onion can give you 1 bag of one bag of garlic can give you the resources that you need 5 bags of onions. So this kind of comparative advantage, with that, I went to speak to the people, and I was able to visit every community. And when I went to some of the communities, they said, why did you decide to come to our community? Because since 1976, the Toro local government was created, I know nobody, we only see their posters, whether we vote for them or not, they are already there. And then we only hear that they have left office and somebody has taken. I said, yes, for me, I feel if I have to represent you, then I need to come here so that I can understand some few things around you, some challenges that you are having, so that I can represent you adequately. And I had that, I worked in EU, working specifically on the nine Niger Delta states. And I gathered a lot of experience there. What we did was we went to every community with the civil society support, and then we got what we call Community Development Action Plan. Each community sat down on their own, they were trained to come up. The women will sit down and say, in the next 5-10 years, this is what we want to see in our community. The men will do the same thing. The youth will do the same thing. Community leaders on their own and elders will sit down as a group to come up. While you find women talking about market spaces, You find women talking about hospitals, schools for their children. They also want some resources so that they can do their market businesses better. They want to be nurses, they want to be midwives, because some of women give birth to children, they need proper Medicare. You find the men talking about, oh, we want access to road to our community. We want you to give us sorry, we want you to support us also with canoe, because we don't have, we do that so that we can get resources. We want you to support us, to train us on manual jobs so that we can work in the oil companies and also get resources. You know, you find them talking about issues like that. While the youth will be saying, we want scholarship, we want jobs, we also want to be trained in skills that we can also offer our services to the oil companies and get resources. You find community leaders talking about, I want a town hall so that when I have meeting with my people, I should be able to have a central place to talk to them. And in addition, you find there are areas of convergence, there are also areas that differ, people differ. You'll find all the groups actually talking about hospitals, you find them talking about schools, you find them talking about access road. Everybody wants it, but then it's different. So with that development plan, we put all the information together for 5 years, for 10 years. Every community in Nigeria is supposed to have what they call Community Development Action Plan. So that whether it's PDP or SDP or APC, that is, all they need to do is they need this document, because this is the voice of the people telling them, this is what we want you to do. And at the end of 5 years or 4 years, when they are leaving office, we should be able, based on the document that we're giving them, assess them. Have they done it correctly? Have they not done it correctly? Have they done this? What have they not done? Why are they not doing it? Because when the resources, when they get their allocation, and then the internally generated revenue, they are supposed to put all these things and discuss with their subject at town hall meeting to explain to the people, okay, based on your expectations, we can only do 10 boreholes. And for these 10 boreholes, there are communities that want boreholes. There are others that don't want. So you can push it down and say, okay, so among yourselves, sit down, bargain and debate. Who needs the water most than the other? So they will allocate it among themselves. Then the next will be to execute what should be done. If it is hospital, okay, we can only within the budget. So all this we put it together also. So in 5 years, we should be able to say, yeah, we gave you this on paper. This is how much you have done. We think you are justified. We are justified for us to vote you again to go back. Or you have misused our money. You have not done anything. Every community is complaining. You didn't do anything. Because it's not easy for anybody to have access to the governor and tell the governor or the duty bearer, this is what we want. But the papers should be able to be there to represent people. So that at town hall meeting, the leaders should be able to say, within the money resources that we have, this is what we can do. And then the process of choosing where will we put this will be a collective decision. Other countries have developed the West because they have 100 years development plan for now. They know what they want. And in our own case, we don't have. So by the time we start assessing our leaders, it's mostly on personal things. I went there, the legislator vying for this position bought 50 vehicles and distributed Keke Napep and did all that. And it's not part of that in the constitution. So let's, even if it's that is what we want, they should buy 10 vehicles, 50 motorcycles, and whatever. Let's have it as part of our constitution, because we are not meant for constitution. The constitution is meant for us, so that everybody understands the road that we're all going. If we're all going west, let's go west. If we're all going north, let's go north. But the constitution should be able to tell us, these are the things that is expected. These are the expectations of the duty bearers. These are the expectations of the followers. Where can they chip in when the resources are not sufficient? Where can they themselves chip in? so that they make ends meet. And it's all part of governance. So it's the duty of the followers as well of the duty of the duty bearers. But then where's our meeting point? The constitution should be our meeting point so that we can draft exactly what I've taken more time maybe explaining that. This is what yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Ma. I want to apologize. I have to change my location to get better connection and also to avoid distraction. So, Melody,
Okay.
are you there? Can you ask your question? We still have time. Melody. All right, let me Melody. All right, Melody, can you unmute yourself and ask your question? Melody, are you there?
Okay, just check the chat box since she is unable to unmute herself. Her question is there.
Okay. All right. So let me ask a question.
Okay.
Okay, I couldn't see the first part of the question. Okay. It's like she said, how were you able to convince your husband and his family to allow you to join politics? All right, so Melody, I think she's coming from.
Was I able to convince who?
How were you able to convince your husband and his family to allow you to join politics?
Well,
okay, I think the question is in two parts.
Okay.
Be good you answer both together since they go together. She first answer, what are the challenges you personally faced when you contested with the men counterparts? And how were you able to convince your husband and his family to allow you to join politics?
I got it. Ma, okay, Ma, do you get the question now, the full question? Hello, Ma, are you with us?
mm-hmm.
All right, so she was asking, what are some of the challenges you faced personally when you choose to join politics? And how were you able to convince your husband and his family, that is your in-laws, to join politics? How do you gain their trust that they allowed you to join politics? Minding the part of the country you are coming from, probably socio-cultural and religious norms. How were you able to overcome these challenges?
You are muted, Ma.
Yes, you are muted, Ma. You can mute yourself.
Sorry, Ma, you are muted, Ma. You need to unmute yourself.
Hello, okay?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah. I only needed to talk to my husband because like they said, two are one, two becoming one, to discuss, well, of course, for everything we discuss. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Sorry?
we can hear you. Yes.
Okay. For everything in the house, definitely, since it's the two of us, we need to share intelligence, we need to share resources when I'm going into politics. So I see myself explaining to my husband that this is my ambition, this is where I want to be, and he supported me because he himself is also a politician. So he saw the need for that, and it was fine. And maybe the other people we talk to are the kids, so that we tell them this is where we want to go. So what do you feel about it? Well, for them, some of them were in support, so others felt, well, they had their own misgivings and other things. And then the next is the electorate, who I need their votes. I needed to talk to the community leaders. I needed to talk to the women. I needed to talk to the youth. And I'm sure as at that time, definitely the support was really massive. And because they saw this is somebody that has experience in community development because of my NGO background. And because of my background also working with donor partners, so I understand the issue of bottom-up approach, discussing with people, not bobbing their head in their absence. And I was able to put all these participatory skills when I was talking to the electorates. And I visited people in all the communities that I know are my area of coverage and talked to them. So I think that sort of endeared them. And then the first woman coming out to participate in politics as to looking for the chairmanship of the local government also impressed them. And they felt, no, this is a woman. And they kept telling them, well, you know, kunci bashi, saboda haka yanzu dole ku biya mace ta fito, we are going to vote for her. So within that context, I think there was massive support. But for the 6 years, His Excellency Isa Yuguda did not allow us to go to elections. It has been caretaker until he finished his tenure. So we couldn't go to the polls to get elected or whatever. There was no primary elections, there was no other election. So that was how it ended there. But then when as I said earlier, I also contested for the seat of a senator in Gombe South. That's where my husband comes from. Well, I took the same steps, went to the community leaders, talked to people. Well, people kept saying, you have a lot of experience, you understand issues, but why are you in SDP? SDP is not going to win. It will take some time. Why didn't you join APC and PDP? And I keep telling them, well, I joined this party because it will give me the opportunity to go around and talk to people. Probably if our APC or PDP, the big players are there, probably with big money, and you might not even listen to me. But now that you know I'm from a different party, you are all here to listen to me, and then we can talk. So at least it gave them an opportunity to say, there's somebody that also has some experience that people could benefit if elected. But I knew that if I don't have the big money, I cannot contest with the people from the two major parties. But at least it gave me a platform to talk to people and say, this is what I can do. And I'm happy with the response because people really appreciate it. Yeah.
There's a question that Chris asked. Say, what are some of the challenges you faced when you contested with men as your counterparts? Some of the challenges. What are some of the challenges you encountered when you contested against the male counterparts, knowing that they have the ego, the resources, and other advantages to them? How did you contest? How do you?
I think you have asked your question. Yeah, I think you have asked your question. Let me just respond. Actually, what happened was that when I contested for the chairmanship of the local government, I have other men also contesting with me along within the same party because it was PDP. But when I came to contest for the Senate, I was in SDP and I was the only female candidate for SDP. We have other candidates for other senatorial districts, one each. So invariably, we are not contesting against anybody. So my experience in Toro local government was that, yeah, it changed the terrain a little bit because the challenge they face now is that I was going to the rural communities to talk to people. I was explaining to them that I read, I have master's degree, I was here, I worked here, I worked in this community, this was what I did, this was what I did. Based on this experience, I think when I bring it here, we could apply, we could do this, we could do that. So it changed the terrain, because when the men saw that I was going to the communities and they were not going, so they started going to the communities. From the feedback they were getting, people were appreciating that I'm going there, so they started going. And when they go there, they would just tell them, we are here, this is what I can do. Then they would ask them. But when Hannatu came here, she talked about her experience. She went to school, she did this, she has this certificate, she worked here and here. What about you? Did you work in another place? And what is your paper qualification? And then people realized that it was a big challenge. And from the feedback I was getting, the negative feedback I was getting, some people were feeling really on the edge from different angles. From the angle of the former people that were occupied that position, they said, well, if you allow this woman to be the chairperson of the local government, I think people will realize that we have not helped the local government, we have wasted resources, and our people will really stone us, to use their words. For the women, they were excited. At some point, I distributed posters and I wasn't seeing my posters all over the place. So I started asking, and I asked people to find out. Then somebody was there. He was watching somebody putting the poster. And some women were there. They said, please don't put too much gum stick on it, because even if we put, we are going to remove it. So he asked them, why do you want to remove them? They said, this poster, we can't put it here. We want to put it in our houses so that it will remind us on the day of election, we have to vote for a fellow woman like us. So that was another kind of assessment. And then with my colleagues also, it's like they started talking among themselves, looking at what criteria can they use so that they edge me out. Then they say, wow, she's a woman. Besides that, she's also a Christian. No, we won't allow her. We won't. So there was more or less a kind of coming together. But I'm so impressed with the religious leaders, like the Council of Ulama. They invited me. The CAN also, to the local government, invited me to talk to them. The Council of Ulama, when I went there, the first thing they asked, who am I? What makes me think that I should go into politics and even represent the local government? By the time I explained myself to them, they were thrilled, they were excited. They themselves collected my posters and said they were going to distribute themselves. That they never thought, because they don't know me, they never thought that they have a daughter into the local government that, it can equally do something. And I have even worked in many places, they don't even know. They were so happy about it, that because they think the experience that I've gathered would be of help to support the local government and move it to a higher height. And then there's also the challenge of the gatekeepers. One of them actually called me and spent about 30 minutes insulting me and saying, who do I think I am? That I didn't even speak to him, that I didn't even consider that I should come. Do I know how important he is in the local government? He said so many things. So I kept apologizing and telling him that honestly, when I come back from wherever I am, I will go and talk to him. I asked him for his name. He said he's not going to tell me his name. I should go and find out. So it was after he finished talking, somebody called me and said, this is the person that is talking to you. I said, okay. He's even among the people we listed who are coming to see. So when I came back, we went to his office to see him. You know, the way he looked at me, who is this woman? What does she think? So he said, okay, you say you want to be the chairman of Toro local government. What do you know about Toro and what do you think you can do? By the time I talked to him about explained to him where I work, my CV, he stood up at some point and said, Madam, I don't know you. I'm very sorry for insulting you. No wonder you didn't even responded rudely also. I'm sorry. He kept apologizing and apologizing. And I had to tell him, no, it's all right. You know, when you are in such position, you cannot afford to get annoyed, because if people don't know you, they don't know what you can contribute, definitely they are bound to look down on you. So, in fact, he interjected more than 3-4 times. The person that came in my group with me was the one that went to talk to him about it. He kept looking at him and he was telling him, so you mean you know this woman? And when I was saying all this rubbish that day on phone to her, you were there seated down, you didn't even stop. Look at this embarrassment. I've never known that we have somebody like this in the local government. He kept apologizing. And by the time we finished the discussion, he accompanied me to the car and opened the car. I felt too small. I felt this is a committee that shouldn't be the case. He said no. He kept apologizing. So all these were some of the challenges, and the ability to be patient also and try to explain to people, answer them truthfully, and tell them exactly what you know about it. I think at the end, I became indebted to many of them. Even now, people will still call me and say, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? What to follow this? Do you know the person and things like that? So these are some of the challenges actually. And the major one is the funding also. If you don't have money, then you have to go for the option godfather or godmother. And you know what that can mean. People will just dictate the pace because they feel he who pays the piper should dictate the tune. So things like that. These are some of the few challenges. And you also have people coming from asking for personal things also. It was a big challenge. By the time I go somewhere and come back, I'll find a folder with letters requesting for money, personal monies. They want to my own wedding invitation, any ceremony. You know, all this is because people think that as a this is the job description they have. And then at the end, they will also judge you based on that job description, whether you have solved personal problems or not, while the development keeps suffering. And the schools will not be built because they
All right. It seems Sanat is having network challenges. All right, so we are still in the question and answer
the
session.
money for the schools have been distributed for people to bypass. Hello?
Okay, please go ahead, Ma. It seems we lost you at some point.
Like she's having network challenge.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, ma'am.
Okay. I think I've finished explaining the challenges.
All right. Thank you very much, ma'am. Well, these questions are, I think you have highlighted a bit on them, but Cecilia was asking if you encountered gender discrimination during the contest. I think you have highlighted that, except you have more input on that. And
Yeah, I analyze that based on the different categories of people. People feel as first and foremost you are a woman. This is supposed to be a male dominated area. So why do you want leadership? And then the next one they would ask would be what monies do you have? But then the silent one is that maybe you don't belong to the same religion with them, so they wouldn't want to vote. That one will not be said. They will do the assessment like somebody asked me, why are your pictures? The girl, you didn't cover your face very well. So I jokingly told the person, I say, well, even if I cover my head, for as long as my heart is not covered to waste resources, then I think it's still not the right thing because the outward covering is different. But what is my heart telling me concerning management of your resources to local government? So I think that you will not be able to assess. So why don't you work together? Let's just work together to see how do we deliver what we need.
All right. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right. We want to take the last question before you round up.
All
This
right.
question is coming from Victor Damut. It says, what are the ways we can eliminate misunderstanding people on constitutional duties of political leaders? Okay, I think he's trying to say, what are some of the ways that the masses can eliminate, misconception that the masses have regarding the constitutional duties of a political leader? What are some of the ways that we can do
Yeah,
that?
thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. That is partly the work with the civil society organizations. We have to play a large role in raising awareness, quoting the Constitution, talking to people, explaining the Constitution. That should also be the role of the media. The media should play a big role here by explaining to people that, well, as a legislator, this is what the Constitution says. This is their area of jurisdiction. This is their area of work. We should not expect more than that. And the duty bearers themselves should also find opportunity like organizing town hall meetings in their various areas so that they can answer to them truthfully what is actually their job description, what have they been able to achieve since they assume office, what are their plans and things like that. And the plans invariably will be what the electors want, is what we go there to do. So definitely we would ask this is how much you gave me 10 things to do. I've been able to do the 2, 3, 5 are in the pipeline. Some of these are in the ministry of here and here. Some have gone through first, second, and third reading. And these are other issues that is a national issue. This is how we have handled. So the town hall meeting is supposed to provide explanation to people, as to how they are being governed. Thank you. Hello?
I can hear you, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hanatu. I'm seriously enlightened. I think this is the first time I'm hearing a politician who took soil sample of a community for analysis. I've never seen that. Yes. It's a privilege and honor to sit under you, ma'am. I'm very sure that those of us that keenly listen to you have been blessed. And it's my prayer that we are going to replicate most of these things that you have spoken. I think if all of us here can implement what you say, there will be a paradigm shift in the political scene of Nigeria, especially in the mindset of the masses regarding people holding political offices and even the politicians themselves. We are very grateful, ma, and we wish you success in your political career. Probably you may be contesting for the senatorial seat again. Please, Gombe people, get your water.
I'm interested in asking if Mommy Anotu is planning for 2023.
Yes. Gombe participant, please.
Thank you for helping me garner some support. I didn't stop at the soil analysis. The soil analysis showed us what we can do into the local government that will give people money. Because generally the norm is that we depend on the rainy season. And the danger and the vulnerability is that when we plant and there's drought, so everybody becomes vulnerable. There's no crops, hunger sets in. But when we have trees that will yield for 30, 40 years, we can still, that will be a big fallback position. And we realize that into a local government, we can plant palm trees and they will survive. We can plant mangoes, we can plant pear, we can plant grapes, we can plant apple. All this will survive based on soil analysis. And even during the dry season farming, instead of everybody planting onions at the same time, you see when you go to buy garlic, it's more expensive. Other people can also invest money in garlic. In the whole of the north, we use a lot of cloves, But cloves are all imported. We don't have any particular place that produces. These are things that we can cash in. Issues like turmeric, we can support our people to plant it. We can connect them to off-takers, companies that process this, and get them to come and invest in our community so that we can supply this. What a farmer needs is the market. And once an off-taker is there, the companies will need our produce. So things like that. So it did not stop at just the soil sampling, but also I came up and then went to raw materials research and development and spoke to them so that they can connect us to manufacturers. We were talking to some of them, and I told them that, well, I'm contesting for the chairman of the local government. What can you put in my community? They said, well, we are looking for any community that will be willing to produce a lot of mangoes for us. We are willing to invest 60% of seedlings, 60% of the cost of seedlings we would provide. The only collateral we want is that the communities will not sell their produce to any other company except our company, because we have supported them to plant these trees. After 1.5 years, the trees will start producing, so we will buy. But then the cost, the price of the commodity will be determined by the community. So they were willing to put this on paper so that we can sign. But then the election never came, and I didn't have anybody to talk to them. Would put me there either as caretaker or something to see what I could do. So it ended up in my laptop. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, ma.
You're welcome.
I'm highly impressed, and I know most of us here are impressed. I think this is the best time, as I said earlier, I had a politician taking soil sample. If all our politicians can do that, I think we are going to make progress. We are honored to have you, and we pray that in your future endeavors and aspirations, God will grant you success and crown your effort. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me.
Welcome, ma'am.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
All right.
Bye. Have a nice day.
Yes, thank you very much, ma'am. Have a nice day, ma'am.
Okay.
All right. That's Miss Hanatu Yaro. I can assure you, I can testify that many of us are blessed, and actually it's good to sit under a mother. She was meticulous and elaborate in her discussion, and the deliberations were exhausted properly. And I want to encourage us, please. I know Mr. Shewon and the group have been making efforts to sensitize us that these issues we are discussing here, they are not just to remain as abstract entities. They are not just to remain in our jotters. And I can guarantee you that if we implement this in our community levels, not at the larger scale, we are going to turn around situations around us. So please, as we note these things down, let's be trusting God that will be implementing these things accordingly, that will bring change that we desire. All right, now, so the second part of our training today, we'll be discussing on understanding public leadership and management. We want to have a lucid understanding on public management and leadership in the society. So for that, we'll be having Mrs. Titi Akubu, who will be giving us an elaborate understanding on this particular topic. Now, a brief background of Ms. Titi. Ms. Titi Akubu holds a master's degree in sustainable and international development. She's a graduate, she's a postgraduate, she holds a postgraduate diploma in management and is an alumnus of International Fellowship Program. She is also a seasoned organization development practitioner with over 29 years working experience in the public sector. Wow. She public service, development and humanitarian service operations management, with focus on gender, economic empowerment of women, water sanitation and hygiene. Other areas of special interest to her heart include program management planning, monitoring and evaluation, community development, organizational development, VSLA design and management, livelihood, food security, resilience and integrated programming, early recovery and transitional intervention. Ms. Titi Yakubu is a group manager of diversity of people, implementation model, as well as local and internationally funded projects. She has worked directly with communities and women groups, especially the less privileged and the vulnerable. She has a vast experience in poverty reduction, strategy planning, and participatory management and entrepreneurship development skills for women and community-based organizations. Mrs. Titi Yakubu has held several top management positions as a development practitioner, including the chairmanship of the board of several not-for-profit organizations. She's a recipient of several awards, including Ford Foundation Fellowship, Icon of Humanitarian Service, and Peace Ambassador by Africa Youth Assembly for Peace, among others. This profile is very rich. Now, so we'll be welcoming Ms. Titi Yakubu to take the platform as she take us through understanding of leadership and management. You are welcome, ma'am.
All right.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, ma'am.
All right. So good evening or afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be part of this forum. And I think it's a timely thing to discuss when we are asking for the young to come in on board. So we are discussing understanding leadership and management, particularly when we look at the sector that we are in now. Let me see that, why are we talking about these critical things? I think if you look at, we are not going outside, but to looking at countries like Africa, we still have a challenge of leadership and management. And if you look at even the economic sector, the financial sector within our country, we are also battling with the issue of leadership and management. So for every success of any nation or any business or any community or any organization, these two aspects of leadership and management are critical to the success. And for personally, even as an individual, for you to be a successful person, you must have a bit of leadership and managerial abilities in order for you to propel your career or ambition forward to be successful. So we'll be looking at those things. So the next thing I would like to look at is that, where are we so particular about youth? For people like us who are advanced in age, we expect that after the younger people take up from where we have stopped. Cannot move forward if they do not have the prerequisite skills and experience to take after their parents. And so we feel that it is very important.
Hello, ma'am. Your voice is breaking.
Information should be here to prepare. So I've tried to look at, can you, okay, let me come. I'm coming, please.
All right.
There is something that I want us to look at. My battery is running down, and I have the presentation with Shaun. I don't know whether if it won't go so.
Can you hear me, ma?
Yeah, I can hear you. So we'll look at what do we understand by leadership. Are we together?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, we are with you, ma'am.
All right. So we try to look at leadership. When we talk about leadership, we are looking at the prospect of looking at.
I believe everyone can hear me. Let me share the screen for my own side. Let me share your slide to save your battery. What do you think?
It's all right. Please, I'll be very grateful. So we are looking at what are we looking at? We are looking at definition of leadership, the abilities required, and then we'll look at the leadership roles, and then the differences between leadership and management, and the different types of leadership, and also some actions requirement for improving leadership. So when it comes to our mind, and we talked about leadership, what comes to your mind when you hear? First, leadership is about power. We look at the issue of skill, motivation, responsibility, teamwork, communication, competency, and support. So leadership has this about 8 requirements that comes to in our mind. And that is why we said people are struggling day in, day out because of these things that has to do with power. But then there are some things that are missing. People want power, but they don't even have the skill. People want power, and we feel that the people who are in power fail to take their responsibility. And then we see also people who are in power, they have the power, but they do not have the competency and even the communication. So basically, when you talk about leadership, it's about power, skill, motivation. So as young leaders, if you want to be a leader, these are critical components that you must acquire in order to make you a responsible leader. The next one we have is about the issue of definition. When people talk about leadership, one, the key thing that comes to your mind
Mr. Show, please, you can share her screen.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, apologies for that. I guess Ms. Titi Yakubu's phone must have gone off. Just hold on while we think of what we can do about our session. Okay, Ma, I can share your slide from here. Let me.
I'm trying to do it on phone. I don't know whether it's going to be convenient, but let's share.
No, I'm sharing the slide. Can you see the slide?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, you're here. So just give me instruction. I'll complete the slide from here.
The next slide.
Okay.
Yeah. So really, please accept my apology, though I've shared with Sheun my challenges.
No problem.
Yes, so we are trying to look at, when we talk about leadership, here I try to share with you is that it's a process of influencing people, providing purpose and direction while operating to meet either organizational or national requirements through deliberate change. It is also about a skill of people and inspiring them towards a direction. It is an interpersonal process which involves influencing people or group towards the achievement of objective. So the key words here is about influencing people, it's about inspiring people, it is about bringing change that you will calibrate people to deliver change, either within your household, in a group, in a community, in your organization, even at a nation at large. So we are saying that when it comes to leadership, it is about influence. And when you influence people, it means you want people to get things done. You want them to do some certain things. And that is why it's very, very important. In a nation where we miss leadership quality that can drive people, then that is where we have the missing link. And people are scattered. They are like sheep without a shepherd. Next. The next one, we talked about management. So when we talk about management, I will want us to see that management is quite different from leadership because it is about how you plan, how you coordinate, how you administer, and how you even develop your goals and provide the necessary resources in achieving your goal. So management also talks about how you can break down some small tasks, how you can manage people. This one is more of managerial. It does not have a strategic goal. So you see that when you are doing a management role, you are more of coordinating people. And while in leadership, you are looking at somebody who is strategic, influencing people to do things. Here, you are more of controlling, coordinating, and directing. So we say that management is a discipline of managing things and people in the best possible manner. It is an art of skill of getting the work done through and with others. So here the similarity is that still you want others to use it. So when we come to the process of management in the next slide, you will see that, next slide, please. You will see that in management, we have one, we have planning. Two, we have coordinating. The other one too, we have organizing, we have staffing, controlling, and leading or directing. In management, you cannot be a successful manager without doing a proper planning, which means that you need to plan what you need to do, how you're going to do it, who will be responsible for it, and how you intend to manage that and to assess your progress. Control. If you're a manager or you want to do things, there are people you have the responsibility to control. And that means that people want you to give a direction. People want you to show them how they can go about doing these things. And by you setting indicators or targets that these people will work towards it. And then you continue to apply the resources required in order to achieve the set goal. As we have said, management requires doing things through others and through people to achieve goals. So here we talk about, there are certain things in management we require money, men, material, all these are very critical in management. So staffing, we need to have the prerequisite skills of this staff that have the right experience, the right skills, and the right competency so that you will be able to achieve the desired results at the end goal. So when we come and we say, when you talk about management, you talk about leadership, the dividing line are clear. Management looks at breaking down control. You have a clear job description, you have a clear strategy that you're working. Whereas in leadership, you have a strategic goal. You are leading, you have a strategic vision beyond the scope of a short term. So in management, you have a shorter result term that you will want to achieve. Next. So if we go to the next one, what are some of the differences between leadership and management? One, leadership is based on trust. For us, if you look at the Nigerian democracy, when we voted Buhari in power, it's because people have some level of trust and confidence in him. We see him as somebody who is corrupt-free, somebody who speaks and stands by his word. So leadership is about based on trust, inspiring people, has the power to influence people, and then it focuses on encouraging change and have a formulation of principles and guidelines, and then foresightedness. So if a leader, people do not trust a leader, I mean, he will not have followership. And that means that that leader will not achieve, because you need to influence people, and those people you influence, they must have a level of trust in you. And as youth, we cannot develop this right from our young stage. We need to be youth who have a level of trust, who can inspire others to follow them, and who are willing. Hello? Are we together?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Sorry, my network, I'm sharing.
So, all right. So we have said that in management too, we are talking about control. Management have a broken down, shorter, broke down in smaller pieces to enable you achieve a certain goal. Here in management, you are talking about control. You are talking about management of activities. You have rules. You have the issue of being reactive. you have policies and procedure, and then the management has a short-range perspective. So you can see that in management, you must have clear roles, responsibility, and procedures that guides your operation to enable you to be a good management. So one will ask, which is most important? Is it management or leadership? All of us will know that the most critical point we have in our leadership is that we lack people who are inspiring, people who have trust, and people who are ready to drive people to change. So leadership is critical. But we also see that for a successful person to be a good leader, he must have some certain level of managerial abilities, because without having these small management skills, you'll find that people can utterly fail in terms of leadership, because definitely you want to influence people, then you must have the ability to manage people, how to control, how to influence people to reach the desired goal. Then we look at some of the key things that we'll be looking at there. Next slide. So apart from that, can I have the next slide, please? Hello? Hello?
So, Mr. Shaw, next slide, please.
Yeah. So we will see that here we look at leadership is about influencing people. Whereas we look at management is about system of planning, organizing, coordinating, and directing. Somebody is leading ahead of others and breaking down, ensuring that each and every person within this organization or system or group has some tasks and a responsibility given to that person to apply in order to reach a desired goal. Whereas in leadership, we see people who are inspiring others. You might not be the best of leader, but if you have the ability to inspire others, to influence, you have a level of trust, then people will be able to follow you, who have these prerequisite skills to make you a better leader. So for us as leaders and as young people, we need to aspire to become leaders who are trustworthy. Today, when we are talking about youth that will propel and become leaders, it's so unfortunate that some of us do not have the credibility that we can influence our group. And therefore, we need to be exceptional, to be driving force to influence others as we lead in our small groups, in our peer group pressure, so that we can begin to develop the skills that are required to make us the best leaders. Some of us are given small tasks of managerial ability, even in our groups. But we will find out that even in our planning, some youth find themselves to be so shoddy. They begin to lose credibility and integrity in small assignments that are given to them. And this is worrisome, because it means that if in our little groups we will not be able to manage, then going up to become leaders will be a Herculean task for us. And therefore, for us, we feel that if we want to influence others, you want to be a leader, you must be a person people can trust. Next. So trust is key. So we have the 4 E's of leadership: envision, that you have the foresightedness and the strategic foresightedness. You are engendering, meaning you are carrying people along, you become so inclusive, and then you empower others. Because for you to be a leader, you must be ready when you have followers from time to time to empower them. Empowering means that you give them the ability to exercise their ability, to develop their potential, so that they will be able to exercise their innate ability. You give the enabling environment for people to develop. And that is why we are saying the political parties should carry the youth along to provide an enabling environment where the youth can exercise, where they can become empowered to participate in politics and to bring on board some of the skills and the talents that can synergize both between the young and the old to mentor and to allow them to develop into good leaders of tomorrow. So our key is we need to be envisioning, engendering, empowering, and creating an enabling environment. Next. So the next one is that we are looking at the importance of leadership. We have talked about it, but yet we want to see that one of the importance of leadership is about visioning. I am sure that we are all aware that in Nigeria, we have had the Vision 2010, the Vision 2020, the Vision 2030, and now we are aiming at Vision 2050. And in all these visions that have been articulated, I am sure all of us, we have not walked through those visions up to the last plan for us to even measure whether we have had progress. So it is not just about us having a vision or envisioning, but how do we drive people to achieve this vision we have set? Then the issue importance of leadership is about communication. There are several times things happen, leaders will keep mute instead of coming in public to express or to accept or to share what is really happening so that their people will be carried along. And therefore, as a leader, you must have the attitude and the skill to communicate. We'll talk about integrity. A lot of our leaders now, we cannot stand their integrity. When they stand to talk, we say, this is one of their cook and bull story. And then we talked about guidance. As a leader, it is important we need to guide. We need a level of commitment. Many leaders, they are not committed. And that is, we say, in the democracy, we say our leaders lack political will and commitment. So these are quite key, and many more that we can look. The issue of decision-making issues are there, and leaders is to facilitate the level to have a strategic decision-making that will drive and propel the progress. It is also about growth. So as leaders, we will have confidence in people, will have confidence in us also. Next. Then we'll also look at the other aspects. The next slide, please.
Mr. Shaw, next slide.
All right. So,
Mr. Shaw, the next slide.
Yeah. So leaders have roles. As we have shared in the previous slides, we are talking about the issue of inspiring vision, which means to create and establish and shared value, direction, and stretch goals. So as leaders who are really articulate, leaders who can influence, they must have an inspiring vision and a shared vision. I mean, you cannot influence people to follow you when you do not share the vision, and when you do not direct or set a goal that people's responsibility or roles also is to manage, create and change, and manage resistance to change. As leaders, definitely when you are influencing people, it's who will be of a resistance. That does not mean that you put those who are resisting behind, but rather to take the risk and to also manage the resistance to change. Remember the empower? I think the government was not ready to take risks. They were not ready to accommodate this resistant group, and the inability to manage this resistant group to lead them to propel them towards the change we want we did not achieve at the tail end. Our inability of leadership to manage the change, we recorded a huge catastrophe of loss of property and destruction. Leaders are supposed to lead by example, practice what they preach, and share risk or hardship. So as young leaders, we must be people who are ready to be an example. In a group of 10, the fact that 10 are majority and you stand out with a different principle, that does not make you that you do not follow your unfit, but you must stand and be an example to others, to be a peer pressure to draw others. Leadership is about demonstrating confidence, will respect, and trust, and cutting popularity. And one of the things we are facing a challenge here is a lot of our leaders, we do no longer have confidence. We do not even have trust. So once a leader have lost trust and confidence, he is no longer a leader, he is alone. He will not get the required people, nor can he drive, can he share vision, can people buy into that vision, even to influence others to achieve the desired goal that is ahead and to even bring change. These are critical roles that leaders need to aspire. And we will begin to ask ourselves, if I as a youth want to be a leader, then I must begin to share. Are we enthusiastic as leaders? Do we energize people? Do we provide a positive working environment so that people will be able to display their given potentials so that they can grow? Do we empower people? Do we delegate authority? Do we give room for people to share ideas and have faith in the creativity of others? Today, our youth wants a platform where they can be energized. And as leaders, if we energize our youth, we empower them, we give them a level of authority, they will do wonders. So as leaders, the issue of delegation of authority, the issue of empower, people are holding onto power, not allowing others to take because they feel once the power leaves their hand, they have lost it. But as a leader, you want to be a good leader, you must empower others. You must delegate authority. That does not mean that you are losing your grip, but you delegate authority and you manage the delegation of authority. You must give room for creativity. Communicate openly and honestly. Give guidelines, set clear expectations. I mean, even in our household and we have our children as mothers, we are traveling. You must communicate while I'm away. You have to do A, B, C, D. And you cannot hide some rules, but you must give guidelines. If there are challenges, go through this and you set clear expectation. Empathize, be willing to discuss, solve problems and listen with understanding. A lot of people or leaders are not willing to listen to their subordinates. They are not willing to solve their problems, but they want people to do things for them. So as leaders, we must exercise these rules in order to make us better leaders. The last one. So can I have the next slide, please? Team approach.
Yeah.
We must build and lead a team. A lot of us, we are leaders, but hardly do we build team. Hardly do we move with our team. And so once the leader is not there, the team loses focus. So we must always use team approach, facilitate everyone, trust your group, rely on their judgment, which means that once you are doing this team approach, everybody's idea, everybody's contribution, everybody's judgment is very, very important. Everybody is important. And as a leader, you must recognize that. You must work to bring out the best in people. How do we do that? Provide a room to coach, provide effective feedback, because when you coach people, you reward, oh, you have done this, you are exceptional in this, but you need to improve this. Because without proper two-way feedback, we might not be able to get the best out of a person. And when you coach, you must give feedback so that the person will know and monitor the progress. Permit group decision, help your team to take decision. Yes, there might be some challenges or problem-solving issues on the table. Throw it to the group. Please, this is the problem. Can I have your ideas? What decision can we make? And that gives people the idea that yes, there is micromanage. There are many leaders who want to micromanage under the progress. Where are you? Okay, the next one. Then there should be team self-assessment. Self-assessment means that it is not just about you as a leader that assesses others. Others must also assess you as a team. And collectively, you see where you as a team have progressed. And that means by doing that, you'll be able to say, wow, you're working together and everybody's contribution will be inclusive. Next slide. Okay, so we have talked about strategic roles. These are roles and responsibility, but we have key strategic goals. One, a navigator. We all know that a navigator is somebody who shows the way. And then enterprise guardian, someone who manages the enterprise, whether it is a company or a nation or a social enterprise. Somebody who also stands as a change driver. As a leader, you must be the change driver. You must be also a global thinker. You will not think just within a short sight. That's why we say there must be a foresightedness. You must be a captivator, a talent advocate. If you work in a group of teams, within the group of teams, you will be able to hunt some of the talents that are within this young group. And then you begin to give responsibilities. You must be a strategist. You know, in army, they are always strategic. Strategic means you have some strategy to lead you to the desired goal. You must be an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur who is willing to learn, entrepreneur who uses creative ideas. You must be a mobilizer. For a leader, you must be a mobilizer that draws people to yourself, mobilize people to drive the change, to reach, to achieve this, the target, and to bring on board some of the contributions that will make you to become a better leader. Next slide. Yes. So the next one. Next. We can manage. Next. So what attributes do we need to have as leaders? Honesty, integrity, visioning, all these attributes that we had in the last previous slides. As leaders, we must have these attributes. So we talked about leadership. In leadership, there are difficulties that we have. One, we know that we are in a democratic era, so democracy is more of supportive or participatory. Then we have the autocratic or more of people that is applied even in military or in the forces. But also in democracy, we can have the quasi-autocratic leaders who are claiming to be democratic. We have the coaching leadership, which is more on motivational, visionary leadership, progress focus, and inspirational. Bureaucratic, people who believe in hierarchy and duty focused. They do not accept any change. You must go through the hierarchy, which is more bureaucratic and can forestall progress. We have the transactional, performance focused. People are just focusing on performance. Then transformational, more focused on challenging and communicative, which means that people are being challenged. Ideas are thrown, you challenge, and then you stay and to allow people to transform, to change. Then you have the pace setter, which are more of helpful but also motivational. And then we look at the other one, laissez-faire, hands off. We have leaders who are there who shows I don't care attitude. They don't even care what goes on under their nose, and anything can happen. We have the servant, humble and protective. All these are some of the leadership styles that we have, and we can have as within this context. We are looking at the democratic, which is more of participatory or supportive and innovative, where you bring in any other people. But we also find that when we are working with youth, we'll want to see where we can coach, where we can provide visionary leadership, and even apply these transformational challenges, leadership, which can propel our youth to bring out the best of their abilities, to transform them to become better leaders that are versatile and can fit into any changing environment in terms of leadership. Next. Can I?
So show next slide, please. Before I show anyone around, this next slide.
Yes. Okay, the next slide, please.
Can you see it, please?
So, in management, we are looking at, when we talked about management, it's about leading. It is about decision making and communicating. It's about managing change and organizing. So you see ourselves as managers, you are trying to lead people, trying to coordinate, trying to control people. While in leadership, you are looking more on the visionary, the more strategic, as a navigator from a higher level. Whereas in the management, you are looking at where are broken down and there are pockets of activities that you need to do, which is where we have the leading, the decision making and communicating. As manager of an organization or a group, you have to take decision. When you take a decision, you communicate to the people, you manage how that information is translated into action, you manage the change by organizing them and using the available resources to reach the desired goal. So it's critical, but without a proper leadership, even this management might not be feasible. And you see our walls crumbling down. Next slide. Next slide, please. I'm trying to manage my power here too. Okay. So we looked at, can I go to that block, the tax-oriented leadership, which is more concerned for the people. Such tax-oriented leadership clearly defines what he will do and what he will also set goals and let groups know what they will do. So can we go to that where we have the 4 squares, please? Next one. Next. Go back. Yeah. So please, yes, thank you. The previous one, please. That 4 blocks, please. The one that is in a square, task oriented with a matrix. Yes, thank you. So leadership work style. So we said the high relationship task is basic characteristics and disadvantages. And then we look at basic low tax and low relationship. And then we have the high tax, high relationship. Then we have the high tax and low relationship. So here, when we look at the relationship, here the leader has a close working relationship with people he's doing, but seldom does the leader allow work operations to flourish. Where you have the low tax, low relationship, even the relationship is very minimal, and even the work also is very minimal. So you will see that such people, hardly do you see results. These are the type of work relationship. High tax, these are leaders who are enforcers, who are drivers of result-oriented. They also have high relationship with their workers. The low one is a high tax. Yes, what the leader requires is just for people to perform to get the result. The issue about relationship is not on the platform of such a leader. So you find out that yes, there must be performance, but you will see that the morale of people working with such leaders go down, and they become like that bonding is not there. So leadership, these are some of the leadership groups. So as leaders and as young people, we need to find ourselves, to put ourselves in this niche. Where do you belong? High tax, high relationship, or high tax, low relationship in your own little group? Or is it high relationship, low tax? Here, when you have high relationship, they want to maintain their relationship. So they are not ready to force people to do what they are supposed to do so that their relationship does not get spoiled. So if you have such people, you might not be getting the desired result. Next slide. Next slide is shown. So we said authoritarian leadership. Okay, team leader. This is a high tax, high. Okay, can we stop here? Authoritarian leader, this is a high tax, low relationship. People who get this rating are very much tax oriented. There is little or no allowance for cooperation or collaboration. So they are strong on schedule. They expect people to do what they are told, no debate without complaint. When something goes wrong, they tend to focus blame rather than concentrate. They are intolerant of what they see at distance. So it is difficult for them to contribute or develop. So we want to ask ourselves, are you such a person and you are a leader? If you are such a person, then look at what the tendency of what negative implication it has to do to you on the group you are managing. It boils down that we are not moving together with our group. So if you are authoritarian leader, you are high tax, low relationship. All you want is that do A. If you go beyond A, you're on your own and you will not be tolerated, you will be punished. Such leaders should be critically examine their leadership style and look for change. Next one, please. The next slide. Yeah, team leader. This is high tax, high relationship. These are the type of leaders that lead person by positive to foster a team environment where members can reach their potential. which means here you want the people to perform, but you also try to maintain a close relationship so that people can explore and reach their team. They encourage the team to reach their team goals and effectively as possible, while also working tirelessly to strengthen the bond among the various group members. They normally form and be some of the most productive teams. So this is an ideal team. As a leader, you are not supposed to be alone. You are supposed, as you pursue high tasks, you must continue to maintain a good working relationship so that you will be able to reach, at the same time, giving people who are under you also to develop their potential and to reach their potential also to becoming better leaders. And thereby you are building a good leadership potential among the people you are driving the change. Next slide. Impoverished leadership, which is low tax, low relationship. A leader who uses delegate and disappears management style, they are not committed. Other tax accomplishment or maintenance essentially allow their team to do whatever they want. So here you see a leader who is not willing to take responsibility. He gives you something to do, he never comes back to ask you, he doesn't care how that task is done, and it is not his problem. He gives you and goes on his way and he's doing his thing. These type of leaders, they allow their team to suffer, and then you will have power struggle among people. I don't think we will want to see such a leaders, but today we have a lot of such leaders in our democratic dispensation. Low tax, low relationship. Even the constituency, once they are elected, never see them again until after another 4 years. Next slide. Next. Can I have the slide? Country club leader. This person predominantly reward power to maintain discipline and to encourage team to accomplish his goal. Conversely, they are almost incapable of employing the more punitive, coercive, and legitimate powers. This inability results from fear that using such powers would jeopardize relationship with the other team members. So this one is like a country boy. No hard and fast rule, but high relationship. The leader is just interested in maintaining the relationship so that he does not want to pressure on performance so that he will not cut off that relationship. And here we see that there is no reward for punishment, there is no reward for performance, because such a leader just wants his relationship to be maintained for him to be clean. Next slide. So we said, how can we guide our youth for such social change to become leaders? We said, first, as youth, we must have a self-awareness of who we are. As to T, who am I? As Shewon, who are you? That self-awareness tells you who you are at your leadership potential and what you need to do to develop, because it's about us knowing our social and emotional learning cycle. Once we are aware of ourselves, then we'll begin to know those gaps. Social awareness. What is our social network that we operate? We need to understand the social network as youth members, and then to see how we can take on leverage on those social networks and to become aware and draw from this social awareness network within our own cycle to take advantage. Responsible decision making. We must be able to take a responsible decision. When something is responsible, means that you must take responsibility, whether it is negative or positive as a leader. And then relationship skills. We need to build networks. We need to build groups or cohesion groups that can propel us. These networks are very, very important because within the network, we can identify skills, just as lectures are doing. These are some of the networks you begin to draw skills that are existing within this group, and you begin to take advantage of it, information sharing, capacity building, competencies and skills that you can draw from this. And that is the only way that can guide our youth to social change, because once we are able to drive this change, it begins to open up a new area within ourselves to develop our competencies, our skills, to expose us to those areas and the skills to make us better leaders. Next slide, please. Next. Okay, I've just tried to explain. We say know yourself. You have to understand your being, your attribute, seeking for self-improvement, strengthening your attributes. This can be accomplished through self-study, formal classes, reflection, and interactive, which you also, as you are part of this training for the youth engagement, this is part of knowing yourself, trying to seek for self-improvement. Be technically proficient. As a leader, you must know and have a solid familiarity with your employees' tasks. So within your network or group, you must be technically proficient in what you are doing. Seek responsibility, just as Seun and his team are proficient in dealing with youth. So also as a youth participating here, whatever group you belong to, you must be proficient in that group to be able to know what you can draw in terms. Seek responsibility and take responsibility. As youth, we must be ready to take and to look for responsibility and take responsibility for our actions. Such ways to guide your organization to new heights. When things go wrong, or sooner or later, don't blame others. Today, our youth are quick in shifting blames, but we are saying that one of the surest guide for social change is your ability to take responsibility and to take any analysis or any consequences for any responsibility you have taken. Once a leader cannot own up his responsibility, whether it is positive or negative, then there is still room. So as youth, if you want to drive home change, we must be ready to take responsibility. Next slide. Make sound and timely decisions. Set example, be good role models. I am sure by the time this training is concluded, Sheon and his team will be able to identify role models who will be out there to model, to coach, and be an exemplary youth leaders in their groups. Set example, know your people and look out for their well-being. I am sure some of us who are participants here are from a smaller group. And therefore, if you're here as a leader, one of your key responsibility to drive social change in that group is the ability of you to know and look out for the well-being and interests of your group members. Remember, a leader is supposed to be self-sacrificial, not looking for his personal interests or her interests, but looking out for the interests of others. Keep your workers informed. Don't hide information. They said information is power. Once information is shared, it gives people the ability and the power it empowers them, it enables them, it propels them to change, because we cannot drive change without information. So as leaders, we must always communicate, we must share, we must bring out information to keep our workers informed, to keep our network groups informed of the new things or innovations that are coming up. Next slide, please. Sense of responsibility. Develop good character traits that will help them towards their professional responsibility. Ensure that we explain tasks and we supervise, which is still about communication, is the key responsibility. Train as a team. As long as we are in a group and we are leaders, people who work with us, we work in a group, we must continually train and retrain, because we need people to develop fresh skills, new talents, new expertise that are coming, so that they remain relevant within their professional cycle. Use the full capabilities of your organization. If you are within an organization or a department, make sure you deploy all the fullest capabilities to your staff to enable them to become proficient and effective to reach the desired result you require within the organization. Next. Next slide. So these are just questions. What are the differences? Why is leadership important? And what are the 5 strategic goals of leaders, and how do we manage leadership difficult, leadership on understanding? And are leaders born unbent? What are some of the challenges faced by youth to become leaders? Do you think youth are getting the required capacity building to becoming leaders of tomorrow? And then discuss 5 functions of leadership in a group. Next slide. Next slide. So to round up, the quality of leadership, more than any other single factor, determines the success or failure of an organization. And then organizations and companies can be propelled towards growth and sustainability through effective and functional management system in place. Next, I guess, is my final slide. Conclusion. Managers can be leaders if they carry out leadership responsibilities, such as communication, providing inspiration, guidance, and encouraging employees. In an organization or institutional setting like workspace, religious groups, or political or sports setting, the combination of leadership and management is collectively required, because we cannot avoid the need to lead people and manage things. Thank you. Questions?
All right, thank you very much, Ma. We are grateful for this elaborate explanation.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Ma.
Questions?
All right,
I can hear you now.
All right, can you hear me now, Ma?
Hello?
I can hear you, Ma. Hello, Ma. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you, Ma. Hello, Ma. Can you hear me? All right. We'll go on with the question and answers. Please, if you have a question, you can raise your hands, or you can drop your question in the chat box. If you have followed us meticulously, I'm sure there are many questions that are raising in your heart.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Hello? I can hear.
Okay, I'm hearing you, ma'am. I'm with you. All right, Mr. Sheon, please help us communicate with her so that we can get her back. I hope she will still be having power on her device so that she will be around for the next 10 minutes to answer our questions. So you can raise up your hands if you have a question, or you can drop your question in the chat box and I'll read it out.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you. All right, Mr. Sheung, please you help us rectify the issue with her, Vash or anyone around.
Okay, I'm actually trying to find out, to imagine what could be the challenge with her audio.
Okay. So in the meantime, please, you can raise up your hands if you have a question. We're in the Q&A session now. You can raise your hands or you can drop your question in the chat box and we'll read out the questions. All right. I can see a question by Cecilia. Okay, she's asking if leadership is an acquired trait, is an acquired trait, I guess, or an inborn characteristics. All right, as soon as she's back, we'll read out the question to her. All right, there's a question from Haruna Tata also. Can managers be a leader of? Okay, can manager be a leader, or leader can be a manager at the same time? Okay, so that's probably I got you wrong. You can retype the question. So you're asking, can a manager be a leader, and can a leader be a manager concurrently? All right. So you can send the question more. All right, Mr. Sheung, any progress?
Trying to check out.
All right.
So she's off. She's not yet back.
I guess she was complaining of power on her device. Okay, Mr. Sheung, can we wait for a bit longer?
Okay, so maybe we can wait for about a minute,
all
right? If a few seconds, if she's not back, then I'll attempt to respond to some of the questions that I can.
All right, so thank you very much for that clarification. So please, we can continue sending in our questions through the chat box, or you can raise your hands. I've not seen any hand yet, and we'll give you the platform to ask your question. In the absence of Ms. Titi, Sheung will be answering those questions. So you can send them through the chat box, or we can raise up your hands so that I can give you the platform to ask your question.
Javan?
Yes, I'm with you, sir.
So let's just make attempt to respond to as many questions as we can.
Right.